Are you an adventurer looking to take your hunt to the next level? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to East Meets West Hunt with your host, Bo Martonic.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the East Meets West Hunt podcast. And if you're joining us here for the first time, welcome. Hope that you enjoy the show and continue to get some good, valuable information out of it. So this podcast is brought to you by the University of Elk Hunting. Elk 101, Corey Jacobson, has come out with an online course that is fully encompasses everything when it comes to elk hunting, from planning the hunt, going through the budgeting, going through the time, picking a state, picking a unit, all the way through elk calling, fitness, gear, what to do once you have the animal down. The course fully encompasses everything. If you want to learn some more about that course, I did a podcast a few episodes back with Corey Jacobson about this course and kind of broke down the first few modules, give you a little taste of what's going on. So Corey's offering all the listeners of the podcast $20 off of the online course that lasts a full year. So you can save $20 by entering the code EastMeetsWest at checkout. Podcast is also brought to you by Heather's Choice. Heather's Choice is a company that creates meals and snacks for the adventurer, hunter, anything else that you like to do outdoors. You can utilize some of her food. It's healthy, gluten-free, dairy-free options that actually provide good nutrients, not just filled with salt and a whole bunch of other unnecessary things. These meals and the snacks are meant to actually fuel you for the backcountry or travel or whatever that may be. So Heather and the crew there are offering the listeners free shipping on any orders over $99 by using the code EastMeetsWest at checkout. And if you decide that, just want to try out a few things and your order isn't over $99, please use the link on our website to go and check out their website there. Also, Maven Optics is partnered with the podcast to provide you with the highest quality optics, from spotting scopes, binoculars, rifle scopes, at half the price of their competitors. And they're able to do that because they use the direct consumer business model. So kind of cutting out the middleman there, just selling direct online to the customers. A very customer service based company, lifetime no fault warranty, and just the clearest glass, really good in low light. If you haven't checked out one of the videos I'd posted a while back on social media of using my Maven B2 9x45s to glass up some elk after it was basically dark outside, if you looked in the video, but once I switched the phone over looking through the glass, it was still like we still had 15 minutes of light left. So pretty cool to be able to see that in action with good quality optics. So what Maven's doing is they are offering a free gift with any full price optics order off of their website at mavenbuilt.com. Just enter in the coupon code EastMeetsWest-gift and you'll get a free gift, which changes every month. So enter that in if you're going to check out Maven Optics and give it a shot. So with the partnerships out of the way there, let's dive into what we're going to be talking about in this episode today. So we have Clint Casper coming on the podcast, and if you're not familiar with Clint, he was on this podcast here back in August, I believe, of 2018. Did an episode on talking about hunting solo in the West, and Clint has so much to offer, not to mention this guy's just hilarious to hang out with. So Clint came from Ohio to Pennsylvania with me to do some shed hunting, maybe, come across some elk sheds, which we'll kind of get into how that went there. And also do some whitetail shed hunting and scouting. I really wanted to see Clint's input coming from the Midwest, hunting typically farm country deer and bucks, which he is extremely successful at killing mature deer at. And it was really cool to be able to get Clint's input and see it from a different field of view. You know, it's so easy for all of us to, you know, kind of get trapped in our own little worlds and see things only from our experiences. But when you get to bring in some other people from different backgrounds and sorts, you can learn so much from that. And I'm sure he, you know, had a lot of takeaways from that. So just to give a little spoiler alert, when we recorded this podcast on Saturday night, it was just after the first day of shed hunting, we hadn't found any antlers or anything else. But today, which is Sunday, we did come across one small 4-point shed. So it wasn't a complete bust. We had over 20 miles on our boots and a day and a half of hiking, and found one shed and learned a ton about the land. Just had a blast. I mean, Clint is one of those people that is infectious to be around. You're going to be, you know, you're laughing just about the whole time. So we have some funny things going on, but also some serious topics and a lot of takeaways from this episode. So I hope everyone enjoys. And if you do like it, don't forget to leave a review and a rating on iTunes or wherever you're listening from. That helps out a ton. And subscribe to the podcast. Thank you.
You ready?
Bush. Clint Casper. What's up, buddy?
My man. Happy to be here in the Martonic household.
You are here.
Oh, man, I am here. I'm just looking around. Gosh, all these poached bucks over the years. This is awesome. How you guys have gotten away with all this is just beyond me. But it is impressive. I mean, you and your dad are quite the crafty suckers. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I can't believe they let you out of Ohio. They got your ankle bracelet off and everything.
Well, they did. And they actually took my breathalyzer straw to my truck so I could drive here and not have to, you know, because usually I got to blow into that and then put my seatbelt on, and then if it, you know, beeps 3 beeps, that means I can't go anywhere, but it only beeps 2, that means I'm good. I haven't drank anything yet, and I can go. So
okay.
They let me slide with that, so that's good. I was happy to come over here. It's only like 3 hours, so.
Yeah, and you got up at what, like 2 o'clock in the morning?
I think the alarm was set at like 2:40, 2:45. I was on the road about 10 after. I had all my stuff packed, and
yeah,
heck yeah. I was coming over here to find like 20 elk sheds and found none and realized that you know absolutely nothing about elk. But honestly, though, I still had a good time, so I don't want you to take this wrong. I mean, it was still fun, 13.6 miles of nothing, but honestly, still a good time. But no, that's shed hunting. It is what it is, but covered a lot of ground and had a good time doing it. And
yeah, dude.
Saw, 15 bulls that hadn't shed on the way home, so that sort of tells part of the story.
Yeah, I mean, we found elk sign. We didn't find any elk today, even though every place we go, I'd be like, hey, Clint, up here, man, I've always get into bulls, always getting into elk, and then we go there, and it's nothing. This is our place. This is where I get into them. Nothing. And then, yeah, on the way home, we saw literally 15, maybe even more, because at one spot we saw other bulls out of the truck. And they all had their antlers too, so.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, you know, the anticipation of prom night pretty much every hour. I'd hear you say, yep, right around this corner, up over that saddle, that's the mecca, the elk parties over there. There's going to be sheds everywhere. I'm like, oh, yeah. Skirts coming up, panties are going down over there. It's all going to be fun. Get over there, nada. But over the next ridge, that's where it's going to be.
I was wrong. This
all
was
over again. This is it over here.
And just like your prom night, it was disappointment.
It was disappointment. But you know what, though? I have the school record. I went to 14 proms. And so, I mean, every now and again, you would get lucky. No, I'm just kidding. Disclaimer, I was at 2.
Yeah, I got you beat. But anyways, we'll keep going on. So, Clint, what's up? Why'd you come to Pennsylvania?
Oh, man. You know, I mean, it's fun to get out and stretch the legs, whether you're scouting or looking for sheds or hunting. Man, I love going to new places. And I've hunted Pennsylvania, but it's always been, I've hunted Newcastle, Got a good buddy that lives over there. Local dairy farmer and stuff. Known him for years. I killed a few bucks over there with him. Some public, some private. Another guy lived in Newcastle that I was friends with. Same deal, public and private. But that stuff's kind of all farm country. And over here, man, you've got like mini Colorado mountains. I mean, it's cool to come over here and kind of see what you guys are hunting and how you're hunting it and what you're doing. And I mean, we talk so much about our different styles. I mean, back home for me is way different than here for you. So it's just fun to get over and check it all out, And I mean, it's like I said, it's always a fun adventure, and I like strapping the boots up and throwing the pack on and going out and going for it, man. I mean,
and the funny thing is you had called me like only a couple days ago. I love plans that just pop up out of nowhere. They always work.
Friday morning, I wanted you to come out and look for a big set of whitey sheds that I ended up finding Friday afternoon that we'll get some pics of and talk about later. And you're like, nah, man, I got elk sheds and I need to come. And I'm like, basically invited myself. I said, well, okay, I'll be there. And you're like, really? I'm like, hell yeah. Send me your address, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like,
that's literally how it went.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, dude, let's make it happen. Let's do it. And, it just happened that quick. And next thing you know, within 24 hours, you were here from the time we decided to do this.
Ankle bracelet came off. They unlocked the cell and said, hey, go ahead.
Yeah, this is your one chance.
You got a weekend pass.
Yep, that's nice. And so what was like kind of your impressions of hiking around here and some of that stuff?
Yeah, so, I mean, from what I have seen and kind of knew about, like, the PA wilds and just some of the big wood stuff you guys have, I mean, it was everything I thought it was going to be. I mean, you've got total different atmosphere from, like, the Midwestern stuff that I'm used to hunting when it comes to whitetails. I mean, there's not a lot of ag. Mm-hmm. A lot of big woods, and I hunt a lot of, over the years, I've hunted Kentucky a lot, all public down there, and it's kind of similar setup, big ridges and saddles and, spines and mini spines coming off of those, and I mean, it's all terrain features, and I mean, you've got to be able to read sign and basically read what the deer are giving you, and a lot of it, in my opinion, is going to stem from being able to read the landscape. I mean, if just like today, I mean, there were so many times where we'd get to a point out on a ridge and you'd find a bunch of buck rubs and a buck's bed in there, or you'd pop up over a saddle and go down the steep bank on the leeway side of it and, there's a bunch of rubs and scrapes on the next log road down. I mean, it's just, that kind of stuff over time. You just got to learn how to hunt it and why and where. But out here, it just seems like there's a lot of guys that have bought into the mountain buck system. I mean, and you're one of them. I mean, that's kind of your bread and butter. And I mean,
all I got, son.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little disappointing to stumble across all the corn piles that you had hidden. But I mean, I honestly don't think Game Commission's probably listening to this, so you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, outside of the corn piles and the mineral sites and the bait sites, I mean, yeah, you are doing it pretty legit. I mean, they are mountain bucks. I mean,
if you guys watch the Instagram stories by now that we put up, every time I ask Clint, how would you set up in this scenario? He's like, well, I'd put my ground blind right over here. I'd put the corn pile right there. Holy cow, that's what happens when you bring an Ohio boy.
Well, I mean,
that's all he kills all his bucks.
Oh, absolutely. Just it's as simple as this. You put a feeder or a corn pile up and watch a booner come in and you kill it. But no, all jokes aside, we always joke around about that because in Ohio, it is legal to bait and stuff. And, everybody from other states always thinks, oh, yeah, you just put a corn pile down in Ohio and a booner walks by, which definitely isn't the case. But, yeah, no, it was fun. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We're going to get into, today we pretty much focused on elk.
Yeah.
Got into some, what I would call some good mountain buck stuff. I mean,
that one rub was
I mean, that one rub line we found was, super impressive. I mean, that was definitely a mature buck with, I can't say what he's got for a rack department, but he had some body mass to him to be able to put the dents in some of those thigh-sized trees that he did.
Yeah.
But today we focused on elk, so it'll be fun tomorrow to get into more kind of like your bread and butter public land whitetail stuff. And
we're going to go to more flatter terrain. I want to show you a little bit different big woods, like more. It's still going to have some hills, but not a little bit different. And whole different way of looking at it, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun to get to check that out. And I'm interested to see your input on that. So
yeah, no, I mean, like I said, it's totally different from the Midwest stuff. I mean, but it's fun. I mean, I always liked hunting Kentucky and Pennsylvania because it's a different style. I mean, you're keying in on different features. I mean, instead of crops and egg fields, late dropping acorns or in early season case, early dropping acorns. I mean, that's it's just a totally different game that you're looking at, and it's fun. I mean, stone sharpens stone, and it's cool to go in different habitats and environments and actually make your mind work and think about, okay, if I'm Bo and I'm going to hunt here and he's asking me what I think, okay, what do I think? You look around and you're like, all right, well, there's saddle here, you got a big ridge here, you got, south-facing slope here. It's fun to, like, kind of depict it in your mind and kind of piece together, like, okay, what would I do if I was him?
Yeah.
First thing I'd do is I'd crack open a bush light. And then from that point on, we'd make a game plan. But first we're going to crack a bush light. And that's the key. That's the key ingredient to the whole philosophy here.
With the mountain bucks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Eggland bucks, farmland bucks, Midwest.
I mean, we got mountains on the cans.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, are those? Oh, yeah, I think you got to chug that one.
It's peaked.
It's peaked. You know what that means?
Oh, if you listen to the podcast I did with Alex Templeton, she taught me about peaking, and this can is 100% lined up with the hole. 100%. You got to chug it. 100%
you're going to have.
I'm hoping my second one is
so
like that
right
too.
Now, I mean, we're going to have to pretty much throw this out there. This is where old AT comes into play. I mean, and I'll tell you what, she's impressed right now. She's not here to see it, but I'm going to be the first to let her know that, hey, it was chugged. That's an official.
That's
proud
an official
of you.
chug, yeah.
Yep. Fist bit, proud of you.
Yeah,
proud
thanks, buddy.
She'll be proud of you too.
Yeah.
Saw she delivered a calf earlier today, so shout out to her. That's impressive. I was pumped to see that. The calf lived. Good stuff. I'm a beef farmer myself. Come from the farming background, so that's always cool. That was a good podcast you guys did. That was cool. It's cool to see the ranch life and whatnot.
Yeah, it was a great podcast. She was a great guest to have on, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a good one. I enjoyed that. Bringing the farm side to the hunting.
Yeah.
Not at it's we get so wrapped up in the hunting stuff. Sometimes it's hard to really show people like what else we do, and that's kind of like for me, 4th generation dairy farmer, and hogs, beef cows, grain crops. I mean, that's kind of my bread and butter behind the hunting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like the other passion and love. So it's cool to see people like Alex that portray that and show that and let people know, hey, I'm this is what I love to do. This is me. This is who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that was great. She did a good job on that podcast. But anyway, so now that we got, okay, where were we at? Mountain buck strategies.
Mountain bucks, then
After
we went
you
into
crack
peaks
open the
and bush lights and Alex, and now we're back to, so we're back to mountain bucks and strategies. So realistically, I mean, tomorrow, since today we didn't get into a bunch of sheds, actually no sheds, trying to be uplifting and positive, make it sound like we got into a few, but we didn't. Tomorrow, though, is probably going to be the mother load.
Hey, in this other area that I'm taking you to, I've been very successful shed hunting it before. This area we went today was brand new.
Well, I've noticed that you've taken me to all the spots that I should not go to, so I'm on my Onyx maps, I'm Xing out these spots that we're at so I know not to go to those.
Yeah.
So you're actually helping me out, even though in your head you're like, joke's on you, but I'm like, oh, actually joke's on you because I know now where not to go.
Yeah, there's 13.6 miles you're not going to go.
There's a 13.6 mile loop today that I will not travel again. No, there's definitely elk there, and I guarantee you there's sheds there, or there will be sheds there.
When they actually drop. If they haven't dropped already, it's hard to tell.
By June 1st, there should be some sheds there. So I'll just come back every weekend between now and then, just tell your mom and dad, like, hey, look, this is going to be kind of like a positive thing. It's going to be kind of a permanent deal. You're going to see him around a lot. He's going to be here every weekend.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Next weekend, I'll have Easton and Keaton. I'll just bring both my boys here, and we'll put Keaton in the. He's 8 weeks old. We can put him inside the Kafaru Reckoning, and you can just throw Easton. He's 3. He can walk a little bit. Then when he gets tired, he can go inside your Reckoning, and we'll just make it a deal. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's probably better to put him there and set it in the vehicle.
Yeah. Then you got crack windows and take a chance on someone breaking in, and you don't want to do that. No.
But yeah, the one thing that was neat. So we had some questions and stuff on when I posted on Instagram. You're going to be coming there. People are asking, a few things, and one of them people were asking about was thermals, and we talked about that a little bit today. So like how mountain thermals work, and basically like in the mornings and the evening, as the sun goes down and it's cooler, the air's pulling off the mountains, it's coming down into the bottoms.
Yep.
And as the sun warms up the hills, the air's going up.
Yep.
So that's kind of like, that's the basics of thermal. It sounds simple, but it's a lot more complicated than it needs to be, than it is.
Oh yeah, no, it is.
Then on the tops, you have the dominant wind that's coming across, and then we got into even more where I had some milkweed that I found, and you drop it, and what it's called like a wind tunnel basically is where it'll go out. So it's hard to show. I'm doing it with my hands right now, but the milkweed will go out. So if you had a regular scent checker, it would just blow out and it looks like it's going one direction. Well, what will actually happen is if you're right over the edge of a ridge, it'll go and it'll just swirl under, kind of like a wave does, like in the ocean.
Yep. Right back.
And come right back up. And that can screw you. But that's something that almost takes knowing an area a little bit more to figure out how that works, because higher winds create that, where lower winds, they don't have those problems. But what do you have any comments on kind of the mountain thermal type deal? Because it's the same thing like out west. That
yeah, I mean, I would, in my opinion, stalks out west or getting a buck out here in the mountains within range. I mean, you're once they get within that, say 50 and in mark, you're getting pretty touchy-feely. Mm-hmm. You're not, in my opinion, from the mountain stuff that I've hunted out west and then, Kentucky and Pennsylvania and whatnot, you're never going to have a perfect wind. And guys will say, I had a perfect wind, but they're going off of what their wind checker showed them for the most part, and that is literally the wind, that's not the thermal.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, I feel like if I'm coming out here to hunt, if there's one thing that I'm going to want to really pay attention to, it's going to be the terrain features and how I set up accordingly. So, like a few of the saddles we found today, for example, it would be obvious that you could set up right on top of the very top of the saddle. Why not? You've got deer funneling from one side up over past you into the other. You'd say, this is perfect. A wind checker would say, in the morning, your wind's going to do this, and in the evening, your wind's going to do that. But that's not what your thermals will do there. And if you check your thermals, you're going to learn that you probably should be on the leeway side of that hill in the afternoon, and probably in the morning be on the opposite side that's showing the sun coming up, because of the way the thermals are going to go.
So when you say leeway side, what do you mean by that?
So like the side, like the leeway side, like away from, say, like away from the direction that the sun's coming up.
Okay.
So in my opinion, I think learning how the thermals work is going to make or break guys killing bucks out here, because like I said, it would be obvious to say, okay, let's sit on the top of this saddle, put our stand, or climb up here, or hang and bang, whatever your
ground blind.
Yeah, your ground blind in your corn pile with 3 cameras. Whatever you want to do, hashtag get it done. But realistically, when you break it down into what the wind's actually doing with the thermals, that's a terrible idea, because on that top, you're never going to have a wind or a thermal that's going to be consistent. In the morning, you're going to have it constantly pulling back. In the afternoon, you're probably going to always have it, pulling towards that leeway side and going down over the, that's the steeper side. So, in my opinion, for morning hunts and evening hunts, you'd have to set up accordingly to figure out what those thermals are going to do, because those are going to make you or break you. You get a 5-year-old buck in Pennsylvania within 40 yards closing the gap, and he even gets a little hint of a thermal going the wrong direction, it's probably game over.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you're going to, right now you're nodding your head like, oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I've screwed up more of them times than I'd care to admit.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've sat back and thought, okay, what screwed me on this deal? And, oh, guess what? is probably a combination of the wind and the thermals.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, if you can beat a buck's nose, in my opinion, you can cheat and get away with their eyes, their hearing, but a buck's nose, they live and die by it. Yep. And I mean, and out here, they run those saddles, those ridge lines. There was some different funnels coming off of clear cuts we found today. I mean, they use all that for a reason. It's not just because they want to stroll up and down that stuff. I mean, that stuff is all being used to benefit them, mainly their nose. I mean, they know when they come up over that saddle, they're going to be able to test thermals on both sides. They know running some of those funnels, what the wind's going to be doing, those ridge lines. I mean, they've become accustomed and adapted to what, on any given day, the thermals are going to be in the morning, thermals are going to be in the evening, and that's why they're using those areas. I mean, it keeps them alive. I mean, that's bottom line.
And that's why some of those mountain bucks die of old age.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and no one else, there was no sign of anybody else hunting in there.
No, there's not many people that's packing a climber, packing sticks and a stand-in 4, 5, 6 miles. I mean, it's totally different.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, totally different.
It takes a different type of person to actually do it.
Absolutely.
Every morning I'm hiking in, X amount of hours early, and it's cold, and I'm like, why am I doing this? But when you get up there, how about those views and stuff? Just absolutely beautiful. And one thing to note a little bit too is like that big rub line we found.
Yep.
How about that? That wasn't right on top of the ridge.
Nope.
That was on a steep ass side hill just over the edge. About, I don't know. Actually, it was a little further down than I would imagine.
Oh, I bet that was every bit at 80 to 90 off that spine. But what was interesting about that, and I was talking to Sean, Bo's buddy that went with us, is, down below that, you had a big bowl. And it looked like it had been, there were some blowdowns down there and kind of a mess. And I would assume that down there's deer bedding. And so my thoughts was on that rub line was, okay, probably a doe family bedding down there. So if you think about it, in the morning, especially, because there was a food plot from the Game Commission that would have been out in front of us. And those rubs were facing like a buck would have been going towards there. So my thoughts immediately was, okay, you got a buck working towards that food plot on the upwind side of that bedding area in the morning, catching those thermals coming up, scent checking for does, head to that clear cut / food plot, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. He's going to check that out. He's going to be able to win that and look at it without ever going into it. So he's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And then right at the end of that was that nice spine with that saddle. So
yeah, it was.
So I mean, that, like, if you're a buck and you're running that rub line, you go out to that point, you hang a left, you come on the back side of the clear cut. So now you've went past a bedding area, didn't smell what you wanted to smell, went to a clear cut / basically it's a food plot, didn't see what you wanted to see. Now you're going to head out across the top of that saddle. You've got 2 bowls on either side of that you can go into, or you can keep running that spine. And in the morning, those thermals are all working up. I mean, literally that buck could run that spine for miles and be scent checking everything that is basically in that scenario, to the right of him for miles. I mean, and never have to actually walk a hard step, because once he gets off that rub line and gets up to the top, that rub line was working up. Once he got up to the top of that spine, dude, it's easy walking. And let's be honest, big bucks, they're like a fox or a coyote or anything else. They're lazy. Why do they want to side hill all day if they can sit on top of a ridge and run a spine out and be able to scent check and see everything? Why not? I mean, when we split up, Sean and I found a few old scrapes up there. They were probably, I don't know, there was 3 or 4. I mean, they weren't big scrapes, but they were scrapes that had been hit this fall. Probably 50, 60 yards a piece from one another. So there was a little scrape line up there. Don't tell me that buck wasn't hitting those, checking those, seeing what was going on. I mean,
Yeah.
perfect scenario for a guy come first week in November. Jump up in there and spend the day, man. I mean, stuff like that. It's like I said, it's fun to depict. And like as I'm walking, I'm thinking, okay, what would I do here? What's a buck doing here? Why is this? I try to always think, okay, here's the sign. This is what the buck has shown me he's left behind. This is what, what he's done. Now, why did he do it? Why, my brain's always working like overdrive of why is this here? Why did he make a rub line here? Why is there a scrape line here? Why is he working this ridge? And then you start looking, okay, well, it's super thick down here, south-facing slope, probably doe's bedded here in the mornings. The way the rubs are facing, it looks like he's heading towards this clear cut in the morning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's fun to just try to like depict what's, why did this buck why are these bucks doing that?
Instead of just looking at the signs, there's a big rub here, I'm going to hunt right here.
Right.
You look at the bigger picture where you're talking about possibly setting up quarter mile away for that deer.
Exactly. And everybody wants to be in the now. I found these, sheds now. I found this rub line now. I found this scrape line now. That's great, but what you find in March is doing you no good. Like now, that's doing you no good. You need to backtrack. Why? Why was it there in November? Why was that stuff there? Why are these sheds here now? It's easy to depict what's going on right now. Like, okay, right now I'm finding these rubs, I'm finding these sheds, but the bigger picture is why? Why are they here? Why is this rub line here? Why is these scrapes here? Why is this gigantic trail paralleling this saddle on the leeway side? Why is it here? I mean, it's like you need to actually sit back and take a step back in a minute and just take it all in and be like, okay, I'm this buck. What am I doing here? Why? Why am I here? Why are these rubs here? Why did I stop here and hit these scrapes? What's actually happening to make me do this stuff? And I think when you sit back and you do that, you're actually you're thinking like a deer versus thinking like a hunter. I think a lot of times we want to think like a hunter, like, oh, there should be a buck here. But let's take a step back. Let's look at it as why should there be a buck here, or why is there a buck here? Not, well, there should be one here, but the sign is showing that there was one here. So now let's think about why. Why is this spot going to be good every November, or why is it going to be good next year? Or, why was he here this year? What's going on? And that rub line, like as distinct and as big as those trees were, I mean, realistically, that was some of the most impressive sign we saw all day, including some of the elk stuff. I mean, that whitetail rub line was as impressive as some of the elk stuff we were looking at, rub wise. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd be spending some time on that spine, no doubt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was fired up seeing that. Like you didn't get to see the one rub I found down over the hill. It was literally
you said you found a giant one.
Yeah, it was about as big as my waist around. I mean, the thing was, and I don't know, it was just huge.
And for all you guys listening, I mean, he's got a 42-inch waist, so I mean, that's a big rub. I mean, we don't mean like leg size. I mean, we're talking like Martonic waistline size, and that's a big old rub there now.
Of straight steel.
Oh, of straight steel. That's right. Absolutely.
But yeah, no, that's a big takeaway from that is just when you find in that sign, again, exactly what you said, the why behind it, not taking it as this is a big rub, I'm going to set over it,
right?
Whatever that may be, there's so much more into that, and I think that's cool. And I'm excited to get out tomorrow and look at some other spots and just kind of see. Like I was telling you, it was kind of weird. And when I'm in really steep type terrain, I don't find as many scrapes, and I find more rubs, bigger rubs.
Yep.
And doesn't necessarily mean there are any bigger deer that I'm finding in some of the areas that are big woods, less terrain features and stuff, that I'm finding more big scrapes and not as many big rubs. And the guys from Wild at Heart that I'd podcasted with in the past, their theory on the rub thing is that the bucks love to bed out on the points, and there's only so many points. They think they're trying to show maybe their dominance a little bit more, or maybe also that there's a lot bigger trees out. There's not as many small saplings as you go out in some of these oak flats. I don't know. There's a bunch of different things to think about, but it's interesting.
Well, and too, I mean, I've always said, you know, like some of the ground that I've got, you get steep side hills and stuff. And I mean, if you think about it and you put yourself in a buck's, you know, put yourself in a buck's shoes, would you rather make a scrape up on the top on a flat, say like up on a ridgeline, or do you want to make it on a side hill where you're literally like fighting uphill to hit your licking branch, fighting uphill to put your scent on the branch, fighting uphill to try to like, you know, dig out your scrape. And I mean, and like I said, I'm not trying to dumb deer down, but I think at times we as hunters, and especially bow hunters, we overanalyze and overthink things. Yeah. And I think like from what I've seen today and what I've seen at home, I mean, don't get me wrong, a mature buck is super smart, but they're also very lazy. I mean, I mean, like I said, look at some of the sign and the stuff that we saw on top of those spines and the ridges and stuff. And some of the side hills, yeah, but they weren't 300 yards down. They were within 100 yards off the top, where it's still fairly easy walking. Yep. But the thermals are letting them scent check everything that's down below them.
Yeah, they don't need to go down over.
No. Now, if there's a hot doe down there, absolutely, hey, be my guest. I'm coming down to sniff and see what's going on.
Yeah.
But until they smell what they want to smell, I'm going to run this top. And I think the same thing is with the rubs and scrapes. I mean, you know, you yourself, would you rather make a scrape on a side hill or up on an oak flat? I mean,
I'm a stud. I can make it wherever I want, but mostly on top.
Okay, for all of you listening who are not built out of steel like Bo, would you rather make a scrape on a side hill? Oh, okay. So you're all saying,
in my humble opinion.
Okay, all right. So everyone is agreeing that they'd rather make it up on the top. I mean, so you're a bad example. You're a bad example. I forgot.
Or on the bottom.
Yeah, or in the bottom, yeah. But, you know, I'm sorry. I was a bad example, bad analogy. I forgot you're made of carbon and steel, so therefore it's a terrible, realistically, the way you were designed, you could make a scrape going up a tree and a rub going down. I mean, it's fine. You do whatever you want.
And to everyone listening, if you can tell, when Clint and I get together, it's more of a
shit show. I'm just kidding. It's not. No.
It's pretty close. But we're like, we got to come up with some serious, like, we need to talk about some serious stuff, because him and I, we just bust on each other the whole time out there. We're like,
but that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it makes it fun.
A blast. You know, it's a mix of, messing with each other to actually learning it. And, I picked up a lot from learning from Clint today, and, and he's getting to see some different stuff. And it's just always, there's always things you can apply. I mean, even things like you might find here that you see a deer's doing that might put a piece to a puzzle together back home. Yeah, and same vice versa. You know,
back home, I mean, I was thinking today when you were explaining how some of these points work, I don't have as steep a points, but I've got some points and some stuff that in my opinion, the philosophy on bucks bedding at the end of those points and actually hanging out there for a lot of the early season and whatnot, and realistically not traveling too far in daylight off those points makes sense. And I mean, there's some spots that I need to check out and actually maybe hunt a little closer to that bucks probably are using, that up till this point I've just never honestly really, I mean, I've kind of seen it and thought about it, but I'm like, I don't know. But you come out here and I mean, you guys live and die by that. And I'm like, man, if they're doing this and being successful year in and year out, this is something that I need to throw into my arsenal and at least give a chance.
At least consider it.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least go hunt it and try to figure out how to work that into my philosophy and my game plan on, hey, if there is a buck bedding at the end of these points on some of these ridges, instead of waiting for him to mess up during the rut, maybe mid-October I go in there and get aggressive and go after him, and basically try to kill that sucker before he gets horned up and starts traveling looking for does, because then at that point I have no clue where he's at. So yeah, I mean, it's there's things that I've taken away from this already that I'm like, man, that makes sense what Bo said. I mean, even though he's a drunken an idiot. That does make sense. And I feel like I need to take away from that and utilize that in my arsenal. So yeah, no, that's what I mean. It's always cool to hook up with people and look at different landscape, different terrain features. And I try to always take away stuff, and I always leave going, okay, I see what he's doing here. All right.
Or
now how can I get?
He's a dumbass. How does he do good?
Yeah. Or I'm like, okay, so he shoots him at night with a rifle because they're allowed to spotlight here till like 11 or whatever the rule is. Okay, that makes sense. So now, how can I get away with that in Ohio? What light system on my truck can I use?
I'd recommend rigid light bars.
Rigid.
Oh man, no, that was cool, Clint, to get to see that and mess around on tops of those ridges and those points and get to do a little bit of that. But I kind of want to change gears a little bit here and get into, what's going on with Clint Casper in his life. Like what's up?
For me, I mean, man, just focusing on doing a ton of writing, writing full time for Peterson's, was granted a huge opportunity from Christian Berg and everybody there at Peterson's to write full time. So pretty much every month, at least 1 or 2 articles I get to do for those guys, and love working with everybody there on the digital side and the magazine side. Got the little guy, Keaton, who's he's going to be 9 weeks old next week. So yeah, man, really enjoying, watching him grow, and he's already got more hair than I do, which is good for him, but unfortunate for me. and Easton, he'll be 3 there, and he's a Cinco de Mayo baby, so he's probably going to be a partier.
Be careful.
Which, I'm just not much into the beer drinking and hell raising, but he's going to probably be, so I'm going to have to figure out how to combat that, because that's just not really my style.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of that, I'm out, so if you could get another Busch Light, that'd be great.
All right.
But no, man, it's just fun, raising them, and yeah, just a ton of hunts, man, planned for this year. Man, I just try to plan, my year around, the kids, and I got obligations at work, obviously, but a lot of time off, and me and Dad grain farm a lot and stuff. So you try to work in your hunts around everything. But man, I just try to live the best life that I can live, and my passion and dreams has always been to basically be able to make money farming and hunting and stuff. And I mean that's just still where I'm at. Just still chasing those dreams. The writing thing has really taken off for me, and the farming's treated us really good the last few years. We're up to around 1,100 acres of grain crops and stuff. So, man, I enjoy every minute I get to farm with Dad. It's always fun to get a long day of farming in and crack a couple cold ones with Dad at the end of the day. So, yeah. Hunts wise, man, I'm gonna get to go. As a lot of you know, I'm really good friends with Brian Barney, host of Eastman's Elevated. Going to get out with him in May. Him and our other good buddy, Dan Heverin. I'm going to get out with them guys in Montana and hunt spring bears, and then cash my points in. Going to go in all in for muleys in Colorado. That's going to be a solo deal. Don't even ask me how long it's going to be, because it might take 4 days. It may take 19. I already told work, hey, I might be gone the entire month of September. I don't know, but I'm not coming back till I kill one. And then in September, I think me and Brian are going to hook up. Brian, and Dan are going to go to Idaho, I think, and hunt up towards the Idaho and Montana line. One of those units up there, I think we're going to do an over-the-counter deal. And then I'm going to be in Utah bow hunting muleys in October with a good buddy of mine, Ty Glenn. And then back to Idaho in November with Brian and Dan again to hunt rut muleys with a bow, which is going to be a first for me. But those guys do it every year. And, man, I'm really pumped for that. I mean, just freaking going for it.
Yeah.
Just immerse yourself in the rut and seeing those freaking big old muley bucks chasing does and just running around like chickens with their heads cut off. Man, I'm super jacked to get out and do that. I mean, cold, snow, I get it. It could be a little better weather, but I mean, I don't know, man. I'm one of those guys that I mean, it's cliche, but I like to embrace the suck, which I know you do too. Like it's, it's there'll be some painful moments in that hunt, I'm sure, but I'm looking forward to it. So, and then obviously I got whitetail stuff. I mean, man, I bounce around every year between, I'm going to try to hopefully get out here and do a little hunting with you, and then Ohio and maybe even Kentucky again. Illinois could be on the board. I mean, we'll just, I just kind of drift around. We'll see what happens with the whitetail season. But, yeah, man, just going to go for it. Just going to continue to, base life around, obviously the boys and hunting and farming and family and just not letting anything get in the way of that. I mean, just try to live each day like it's your last. I think a lot of people get caught up in the money game and, man, they just get caught up in the hustle and bustle. And it's like, gosh, you only live once. I mean, you gotta, you gotta have passion and you gotta have goals and desires. And if you don't have that, I really feel like you're just not living life. I mean, I see so many people that, man, they get up, they go to work, they come home, they get up, they go to work, they come home. They have no, like,
burning desire.
Yeah, and it's like, man, like, even when I'm at work, I'm thinking about, like, gosh, what tag am I going to draw, or what unit should I apply for, or what's, I mean, it's just my mind is constantly in overdrive on, a mixture between, like, hunting and the boys and farming, and just that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I like to talk about. That's what I like to do. And I mean, it just, there's a lot. I hear people all the time that are like, oh, man, I'd love to do what you do. And I'm like, so go do it. I mean, I'm no millionaire. I mean, I got a county highway. I work for the county highway department, engineers department. I mean, you're talking $40,000, $50,000 job. I mean, it ain't, I'm not making no six figures. I'm no millionaire. I mean, a lot of my tags are over the counter, or they're 1 or 2 points, and like the whitetail stuff's all public and private, knock on doors. I mean, I've set my life up and based it around, basically family and hunting, and that's what's important to me, and anyone can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you've done it. I mean, you're a prime example. I mean, you've had a dream. You wanted to do this podcast. You wanted to, make kind of a name for yourself in the industry by, setting up and starting a podcast. I remember whenever you pitched me the idea, man, what was that? Probably
it was January.
I was going to say it would have been like January 2018. And I remember my exact words. I mean, I can't quote it like word for word on the podcast.
It was like you said, you're going to fail.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I can't quote exactly probably what I said for lack of, if there's kids listening and whatnot, I don't want to throw too many cuss words, but I was pumped for you, and in Layton terms, it was hell yeah, dude, freaking go for it, man. Like, I mean, go all in. If you're going to do something, freaking dive into it head first, go all in 110%, and hey, if you make it, you make it, and if you fail, you fail. But at least you gave it everything you had, and that's what you wanted to do. And you can't be disappointed in yourself for trying to do something. I mean,
and if you don't quit, you can't fail. I mean, you can fail, but you know what I mean. You just keep going.
Chipping away.
You just keep going. Chipping away. And it's like it is with you and mule deer and me and elk. You know what I mean? That's the only thing that you and I joke back and forth all the time about our unsuccessful trips. And when I say unsuccessful, I just mean by the filling the tag standpoint.
Yeah.
You learn so much every year, but we're sticking to these goals. It's not, I'm not getting discouraged. It's pretty easy for you and I both to be like, man, this sucks that, I've been chasing this for, X amount of days or months or whatever it is,
The minutes spent preparing and the money and, absolutely.
Yeah. But without that burning passion and desire to do anything, I mean, I'd be freaking lost.
Oh, yeah. Life is just...
I'd be a miserable prick.
Life would just... Well, you are a miserable prick.
I was waiting for it. God damn it.
Yeah, you thought you were going to get away. You thought it was going to happen. But, no, I mean, yeah, life would be... For me, would be a joke without passions and desires and just goals. I mean, I'm just super driven and goal oriented, and I've always, just like me in the writing. I mean, man, I remember being at Kent State. I was 20 years old, and we had to write a how-to. Had to be a 5-page how-to paper, how to do something. And it was like first week of class. Fall semester.
So right before bow season.
Yeah, so my mind is definitely not on Kent State classes. And the professor was like, going around kind of asking some of us, like, what are you going to write about? I'm like, I don't know. But I did know. I knew what I was going to write about. But I was like afraid to like let it loose. So I wrote how to kill a mature buck with a bow. I wrote this paper, and I'm like, oh, this is kick-ass. Like, I'm going to get an F because this woman is probably going to be like a PETA supporter and be like, yeah, absolutely not. Try again. You're an effing idiot. Don't ever write about killing an animal again. Total opposite. She's like, reading this paper makes me want to shoot a bow. I don't know if I want to hunt, but she's like, the excitement that poured from this, she's like, it overshadowed the misspelled words and commas because you probably were out drinking the night before you turned this in and didn't proofread it. And I'm like, you're good. You're real good. But I got like a 90 something on that paper. And so she handed the paper back. She told me to see her after class. I'm thinking, shit, here it comes. Now it's going to be like, okay, I gave you a good grade, but don't ever do that again. And it was total opposite. She's like, you need to go with this. She's like, dude, you got a talent. Like, I've never read a hunting article, magazine, book, etc. She's like, I was interested from start to finish. And I'm like, well, it's funny you said that. I'm like, I've always kind of wanted to write. And she's like, you need to start. And it's taken me 10 years. And I always said, if I don't make it by the time I'm 30 to where I'm actually getting paid and I'm making money doing this, I'm going to give it 10 years. And I'm going to freaking take photos, write articles. I'm going to send them in. In the first 4 or 5 years, I mean, oh, dude, I don't know how many times I've been rejected by, you name a publication. Every publication that I write for right now, which is Peterson's Full Time, Deer and Deer Hunting, Eastman's, Bowhunter, Bow Hunting World, and name any of them, I have been rejected by all of them, like more times than I'd like to admit. But the goal was, okay, you got rejected. They just didn't want it. You're going to keep pounding the door. Like, sooner or later, the door is going to open. And when I was, 26, 27, it started to open a little bit. And it was a little crack. And I slithered my way in. And from that point on, I just had it in my head, like, okay, you got to your 30. That was my cutoff point. I'm going to go big or go home till I'm 30. And, oh man, I spent so much money going on trips. And back then, I mean, nobody knew me. I was nobody. Like, there was no deals. There was no stuff for free. I mean, I was paying for everything. Trying to keep up with the latest, greatest gear. Trying to keep up with the newest bows and arrows. And trying to stay in the game. And damn near went broke twice doing it. But eventually it started to sort of, the ball started rolling. And then last year, I think last year I had 14 or 15 articles published, a couple online, and then a bunch in, different magazines. And then this year, Christian scooped me up and he's like, hey, man, we want you. We want you full time. We want you, for Peterson's. And, it's
kind of surreal.
Yeah, I mean, it literally took me 9 years. I mean, and I said I'm going to try it for 10, and if I don't make it, I'm going to go back to just hunting. I'm still going to hunt and be hardcore bow hunter, but I'm going to say, okay, I put 10 years into this. I put a ton of money, blood, sweat, and tears into it. I gave it my all. I went the absolute max of where I wanted to be. It just didn't work out. But you know what? I did it for 10. I tried my damnedest. Took 9 years to get to like where it is right now, but it finally paid off. But I think back, there's so many times where just different people, family, friends were like, man, gosh, I don't know. I mean, it'd be more fun just to go back to just hunting and not have the stress of, are you going to get turned down? Are you not? Or are you going to be able to afford this trip or not? And I just kept figuring out a way to make it happen. And I'm like, sooner or later, it's got to pay off, and I think some of these publications just got tired of me emailing them, and they were like, you know what? It's just easier to let this kid write for us.
Why do you think I had you come here? I got tired of you calling me and texting me.
I mean, hey, joke's on you, buddy. My philosophy worked.
I'm going to start using it.
Hey, don't hate the player, hate the system.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Good system. But no, I mean, I just want people to take away from that, though. Like, you know, if there's something you want to do, whether it's bass fishing, deer hunting, writing articles. I mean, if you've got a goal and there's something you want to do, I mean, don't let anything or anybody, shout out to all the haters out there, you know, don't let anybody, because here's the deal. And I've heard, you know, we've talked about this before, Bo and I, you know, you hear Cam Haines and you hear
David
Goggins, and I just heard David Brinker and Brian Barney talk about this, and Dan Picar the other day on Eastman's Elevated. The minute you go from being a normal person to trying to be extraordinary and doing something that's not the mainstream, normal, everyday thing, you're going to have people hate you for that because, A, they're jealous, B, they want to be that guy, but they don't want to put in the work and effort, or they already know in their head, or they think they know in their head they can't do it. So, you know, not to go on a rant, but just block all that shit out. I mean, do you, worry about you, and let the cards fall how they may, but just know at the end of the day that you're doing everything you can to achieve those goals. And I mean, just like you in the podcast, I mean, you had a vision, you had a dream, you had a goal. And, you know, look at it now. I mean, now you've got the Clint Casper sitting here in your basement.
Holy hell.
Podcasting. I mean, I usually charge $10,000 for this shit. And literally, I'm sitting here just telling you, hand me a
Did you
bush
just read
light.
Joe Rogan's thing or what? That's what he's charging?
No, I mean, I'm just saying, hey, he does follow me on Instagram. I'm just saying, big deal.
Hey, and no, to your point, though, with all that, Clint, like you and I were talking about earlier, and don't get discouraged whether it's you want to do something with content creation, whether you want to do writing, whether you want whatever it is, photography. Any of it. You're going to start out terrible.
Yep.
And
it's the only way to get better.
There's absolutely zero shortcut to get anywhere.
Nope.
You know, a lot of people may look like, wow, they just blew up in a short amount of time. Do you want to know the front, the back stages to that to get to there? And the other thing was about
look at me, 9 years, dude.
Yeah, and
9 years. That's a long time.
That's
an eighth of my life, damn.
A lot of bush lights went through that time.
Oh boy, I could barely afford bush light. Almost had to go to old Natty lights.
Oh geez, that would have been sad.
That's what I'm saying. Natty Ice, perhaps.
I would.
The Natty Daddy, get you some.
Yeah, but like, and like you said, when you go from doing something ordinary to trying to do something extraordinary, and that doesn't mean like you're pumping up yourself or anything, but when you're doing something out of the normal, you're going to have people that don't like it, and that's fine. I mean, we talked about earlier when I started this podcast and everything, it's, the podcast is nothing huge, nothing like that, but it's something different that people, especially in my hometown and stuff, aren't used to people doing. It's not I'm going to work, I'm going to come home and drink a 12-pack and go to bed. It's something out of that realm, and that makes them uncomfortable that I'm doing that. And again, this is not sitting here tooting my own horn in any way. It's just, this is what happens, and people start, talking shit on this or that, and they go through, and I got told that
it's easier to put you down than to try to build you up.
Oh yeah, like when I said that
I
had that tree stand incident this year, and I had a guy, and he knows who he is, was out there telling everybody that I made that up for publicity. Yeah. Like you get that kind of shit that happens, and oh, there we go. That was a good one. But mountains didn't line up. You're lucky. And it's just something that the whole point of this is to, no matter what it is, if you want it bad enough, you want something, just go for it. And it sounds, again, so cliche, but damn, life is so short. If you don't have something you're passionate about and drives you, I don't know. I just get, I get so freaking worked up thinking about it and pumped up. And that's why I like hanging out with people like you and the others I've become close with. I've kind of dropped out the people in my life that are negative in any way and put it down.
It's unfortunate, but you have to.
Yeah, and it sucks because
negativity brings you down. And I mean,
I've had a lot of good friends that, over the years that I've kind of let slip away, and it was not on accident.
Yep. But there again, though, I mean, I was on the way out here this morning early. I was listening to, like I said, to Eastman Elevated with Brian Barney, and Dan Picard was sitting in, and Dave Brinker. And Dave was talking about, basically catering his life to the music world. I mean, he's pretty much left most of the avenues that he was working at before, and he's working on records, and he's always wanted to make money off of basically hunting and music. And it's taken him, 20-some, 30 years, whatever, to get to this point, but it's always been his dream, his goal. He's got his wife supporting him. He's got his kids supporting him. He's got family and friends. And like he said, this isn't word for word a quote, but basically, you know what? I worry about those who support me, and the ones that don't, the hell with them. I mean, and I mean, that's basically where it's at. I mean, the people that are going to be negative and try to put you down are the ones that, honestly, it's sad, but they're just unhappy with what they're doing in life, and they're unhappy with maybe decisions they've made. Maybe they've got stuff they want to chase that they've just never took the jump to chase it. I don't know what the case is, but regardless, like Grogan says, you can't worry about that shit. I mean, you can't. You got to put that in the rearview mirror and never look in there. And I've heard him say, you don't need a rearview mirror. If you have one, you need to rip it off. There is no looking back. And when you think about it,
state of Pennsylvania, I think that'll get you pulled over, but continue.
Realistically, though, I mean, all I really have to say is that I write for Peterson's, and they'd be like, you're good, bro. Keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, it might be different.
I mean, I just hope that we can cut the door open to get your head out here pretty quick.
I mean, those double doors down there look like it'd probably fit it.
Yeah, we could probably take it off the track, but yeah.
But we could probably take it off the track. I mean, I am rocking the East Meets West,
stealth hat
right now. Yeah. So, I mean, realistically, my head is pretty big because, I mean, right now I'm part of something that's, it's so big that everyone in your hometown hates you now. And so that's pretty big. I mean, like, you're big time when everybody hates you.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Not everybody hates Bo. Only about 1 out of every 2.
That's better success rate than having anything else. So
that's right. But no, anyway, long story short, though, man, it's fun to it's fun to get together with you and to hang out. We're both very like-minded and goal-oriented and passionate about stuff, and it's fun to be around people that are like that because it does it. Like I'll leave here tomorrow with a hangover probably, and with a better sense of direction in what I want to do because of the positivity that comes from you and what you're doing with the podcast. And it almost pumps me up, like to hear about, your plans and what's going on in the future and just things that's happening with the podcast. Like, I'm pumped for you. I'm excited for you. I get to provide some blogs and some podcasts, so I get to be a small little piece of it.
Yeah.
It's exciting. And then I leave and I'm like, man, hell yeah. Bo's got this going on. Like, man, that just makes me want to work even harder on what I got going on. And you just keep climbing the ladder together with people that are like-minded. And, like we said, I mean, it's unfortunate, but some people you got to leave behind. I mean, it is what it is,
Yeah, and stick to your goals. I mean, if you got something you really want, there's going to be so many roadblocks that come in the way besides the people, but just different things, money, time. Well,
that's like Western hunting in general. Like I get asked a lot about Western hunting, and guys that are like, yeah, man, I drew a tag this year. I'm so pumped to go out. I'm gonna go after I really want to kill a 340 bull. And I sit back and I look at this and I'm like, this guy's never left Ohio. He's never hunted out west. And he's got his sights on, 340 bull, which is fine. That's okay. Like, that's a goal. That's good. But just remember, that probably won't happen overnight. So it could take years. I mean, prime example is myself with mule deer. The last 4 years, I've been on a lot of mule deer hunts, and I've been at full draw on a couple giants. I could have killed or shot some solid bucks, 140 to 160 bucks, but honestly, that's not what I want. And for me, it's that go big or go home mentality. That's what I'm after. It's what I'm chasing. That's what I want. And when that finally happens, which is going to be this August or early September in Colorado, you can set your date to it right now. It's going to happen. You'll see it on Instagram.
100% success rate?
101.
Dude, you beat me. I was 100% last year and came out 0.
101. But, it's you've got to have the mindset of success, especially out west, cannot only be measured in punching tags. The knowledge I've gained, the things I've seen, the pictures I've taken, I wish I could take all the listeners with me to some of the places I've been in Colorado, the 14,000-foot peaks.
And actually, guys, he said he's hunting solo, so if anybody wants to hunt with him, just send him a message.
Yeah, I'll just jump on. I'll put you in my Kafaru Reckoning or my Hoodlum, whatever I'm running, and you just come on with me. But no, I mean, I just, like I said, I'm so passionate about Western hunting because of the experience and just the total package that comes with it. But there's so many people that only base Western hunting off of success. And it's like, man, you're trying to go 20 states away from the East Coast to the West in 5 or 6, 7 days and trying to get something killed. That's a trophy. A lot of the guys want a trophy class animal, and I get that. That's a great goal, but just, realize you might have to work at that.
Yeah.
I mean, like
you said, think about all the time we plan scouting and money putting in the tags, and time's the biggest thing. That's
absolutely.
Money can be made any day.
You've got to have time.
But the time, and then, so you're putting years after years. I'm on my 4th year going for elk as you are for mule deer.
Yep.
And, I get asked that all the time. How do you go out there that many years and not kill anything? And, I didn't start this podcast, East Meets West, to say I'm a genius Western hunter, because that ain't the case. I'm learning. I'm trying to get better. I want to. And literally, when I go out there every single day, I have in my head I'm killing an elk. And it's going to happen.
Yeah, you have to.
I'm going to say day that 5 to 6 on a hunt, it takes me a lot to get that mindset.
But you have to have it.
You do.
Because that way when the moment comes, mentally, you've already replayed it in your head. It's just secondhand nature. You're going to draw your bow back, you're going to settle your pin, and you're going to freaking smoke a 340-inch bull.
Yeah.
Then you're going to trip, fall, break your ankle. I'm going to laugh and...
Yeah, and then you're going to come pack it out for me.
Come pack Yeah.
Yeah, while you're down, you might even be up in Idaho at the same time.
You never know. You never know. You never know. But yeah, we got on a big tangent and a rant there. But no, it's just be passionate about stuff, but understand that goals don't happen overnight. Success doesn't happen overnight, and in the grand scheme of things, man, just keep chipping away. Set your goal and then set little micro goals. Like for me with the mule deer thing, it's been so much fun just to learn the habitats and how they live in the desert, how they live at 10,000 feet, how they live on up in the high country. I mean, I've hunted so many different terrain features, and it's just constant knowledge gain, constant. Just thinking in my head, okay, what can I do different? What can I be better at? What do I need to work at? Maybe it's cardio, maybe it's glassing, maybe it's this, and it's you're putting it together so that way when the moment of truth arises and I've got my 187-inch 4x5 at 70 yards and I know, okay, this is my moment. This is it. It's time to, I'm going to stalk in that final 10 or 15 yards and get to 50 or whatever the case may be. I know in my head, like, yep, you're ready.
Over.
You're ready. When this bow gets drawn back, shit's dying. And that's the mentality you've got to have. I mean, you've got to believe in yourself, number one. Nobody else is going to believe in you until you believe in yourself. I mean, that's just bottom line. You believed in yourself you could do this podcast. Like I said, Now you've got me on it. You've made it. But no, though. Seriously, though. I mean, you believe, and look at where you're at now. I mean, I believed I could be a writer. I could
start at the bottom and I'm in my basement.
That's absolutely. This is right where you needed to be with me drinking Busch Light. How much higher could you honestly want to go?
Honestly, you're at my
the peak.
Epitome of my life.
You are at the peak, my man. You're at the
peak.
You're at the peak.
Hey,
I'm happy to be here.
Clint, I appreciate you coming on, buddy. Where can people find some more information on you and some of your content?
Yeah, so I got a few videos on Pornhub. I got yeah. So Casper Clint on Instagram, Clint Casper on Facebook. Like I said, I write every issue for Peterson's Bow Hunting. You can catch me on every now and again. I think I've got two or three articles that'll be dropping in deer and deer hunting. Probably one or two going to be in Bowhunter this year.
One or two accounts on Farmers Only.
One or two accounts on Farmers Only. I've got an antelope article, and I believe it's going to be kind of like an East meets West type of deal for Eastman's. So there'll be two there. Working Class Bowhunter. I do a lot of blog work there. Do some blog work for you at East meets West. Podcast wise, East meets West, Eastman's Elevated, Working Class Bowhunter, etc. But so yeah, I'm around. I mean,
get around a little bit.
Yep, I get around. I try to be the shining star or the most glittered hooker in the industry if I can. I put myself out there. I'm like, hey, here's me. No pasties on. Check me out.
Take me or leave me.
Take me or leave me.
Love me or hate me.
Love me or hate me. It is what it is. But the good news is tomorrow is not going to be filled with stripper dust. Tomorrow is going to be filled with sheds. Whitey sheds.
Hopefully bring in your big pack because we're carrying out a bunch, buddy.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to need all. What is the reckoning? 62? Well, no, I got
6,500.
I was going to say I got a couple large and medium pouches. Yeah, so I'm going to need probably all 65 to 6,700 inches of that pack to carry all the sheds out tomorrow. It's going to be incredible.
All right, dude. Well, I'm holding you to it. And by the time this releases, they'll know whether you were lying or not. So that's all there is to it.
Well, it pretty much all boils down to your guiding service. And so far, it's been subpar at best. But tomorrow is a new day. And with a positive attitude and positive thoughts, positive things could happen.
Positive sheds and positive lights are going to be shined on us. All right, I'm done.
Are you making?
Do you want to get back to drinking beer? I'm done.
Are you making reference to the positive light thing to the spotlighting tonight? Is that what you were?
Yeah.
Positive. Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure everyone else caught on to that. So this is how the Martonics kill big bucks. They spotlight at night. Anyways, good night.
All right. Hey, Clint. Thanks again, buddy.
Absolutely appreciate it, my man.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of East Meets West Hunt with your host, Bo Martonic. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit eastmeetswesthunt.com, Facebook at East Meets West Outdoors, and Instagram at East Meets West Hunt. If you enjoyed today's episode, please review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.